All right, so welcome to Elizabethan drama and the topic of the day. Why does this stuff sound so strange? The first thing you've got to realize is that the pronouns in Elizabethan England were a little bit different. They were very similar to what you see in the other Romance languages, like in Spanish or French or Latin. You might find that there are two versions of you. There's an upper class you and there's a lower class you. All right, one you use when you're talking to people who are above you, and the other one is more used when talking to like kids or people who are a little beneath you. So this is the second person pronoun, thee, thou, and ye. All they mean is you. All right, thou and thee are like two in Spanish. All right, they're the casual version. You use them among friends, and also in some plays, you'll see this like when you read Romeo and Juliet, they can be used to talk down to someone, or even um, Hamlet when he's talking to his beloved Ophelia, get thee to a nunnery. Uh, they know each other very well, so he uses a more common version. Now, you or ye, believe it or not, is more formal. Upper class people, polite people, you use that when you're talking up to someone, when you're trying to show that you respect them. Now, the next thing that tends to confuse some people is the verbs in an Elizabethan play. All right, they have different endings. That's the hath, the art, stuff like that. Wherefore art thou? Um, those endings, all it is how you conjugate the verbs. Just like in Spanish again, boy, bas, ba, if you're doing to go, the ending changes depending on who the subject is. In the English language, we've sort of lost part of that. Like it's I have, you have, he, she, or it has. In our language now, the first person and second person verbs have the same ending. But back in Elizabethan England, it wasn't like that. Okay, so if it was you that was doing the action, it would end with a T. And if it was he, she, or it doing the action, it would end with TH. So I have, thou hast, and he, she, or it hath. That's all it is. All right, so when you see those endings, just turn it into the modern version of that word. So that covers some of the grammar stuff that makes people feel a little confused. But a big part of the reason why some folks have trouble with this is its poetry. People back in Elizabethan England didn't talk like this. All right, they didn't walk around rhyming to each other with this rhythm in their voice all the time. All right, this is poetry. It's supposed to sound a little different, and they recognize that. All right, and one of the nice things with Midsummer Night's Dream is that you can hear how people really sounded when Nick Bottom and some of these low-class actors talk, and you can hear how the poetry sounds. And by comparing the two, you can get a good feeling for what language was really like back then. So let's start with the definition of poetry. All right. Basic definition is you're using language in some sort of imaginative way beyond just meaning. Right? It is also called verse. And verse can have a few features to it. All right, the first of those features is rhythm. It has a beat, like in music. All right, that's on different syllables, and we'll hear what that sounds like in a couple minutes here. Meter is the second feature of it, and like in the metric system, it's a unit of measurement. Okay, in poetry, it's the number of syllables in a line, and it forms a pattern. And then lastly, the thing that we usually associate with poetry, rhyme, a pattern of sounds that's either inside a line or between the lines. Now, parts of this play you're going to see have all three of these. Parts of it have one or two, and some of the play has none of it at all. So, when it is poetry in Midsummer Night's Dream, it's written in iambic pentameter. All right. Now, iambic tells you the rhythm, and pentameter tells you the meter. It sounds like a fancy word, but if you break it down, it's pretty basic. So,
Each line of poetry has 10 syllables. Pent means 5, like a pentacle, pentagram. And meter is the metric foot, which is 2 syllables long. So if you have pent meter, you have 5 sets of 2 syllables, which makes 10 syllables. So that's the pentameter part. Now the iambic part is how you say the words. Stress is on every other syllable. It goes soft, then hard. Da-dum, da-dum. Iambic simply means that it does that. All right, so in a line of iambic pentameter, you have 10 syllables that go da-dum, 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 like this. Now fair, Hippolyta, our nuptial hour draws on apace, for happy days bring in another moon, but oh, methinks. See, it has a sound to it. Now, obviously, you don't exaggerate it like that when you're actually saying it, but it gives it a natural sort of flow and rhythm. All right, that's what the iambic pentameter is. Set number of syllables with an accent on every other syllable. So this stuff, this iambic pentameter in Midsummer Night's Dream, comes in two different forms. The first is what's called rhymed verse. That's your hallmark style rhyme. The ending of every line rhymes, okay? You have a pattern. A lot of times in the play, it's used when people are discussing love. Magical creatures, like the fairy creatures, they tend to rhyme a lot. And again, it's pretty basic. Usually, it's in an AABB or ABAB rhyme scheme. Like here, you have an AA rhyme scheme. By the simplicity of Venus' doves, by that which knitteth souls and prospers loves. See, doves and loves rhymes. That's all. That's rhymed verse. 10 syllables, iambic pentameter, and the ends here rhyme. Now, the other kind that you have is blank verse. Now, in blank verse, you still have 10 syllables. It still goes da-dum, 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 but the lines just don't rhyme. All right? And here's an example of that. Okay, this is Lysander in his warped effort to cheer Hermia up. Or if there were a sympathy in choice, war, death, or sickness did lay siege to it, making it momentary as a sound, swift as a shadow, short as any dream, swift as the lightning in a collied night. All right, well, you get the point. All right, so it doesn't have the rhyme to it, but it does have a rhythm. So how do you do that, right? You're talking thousands of lines that rhyme. I mean, that's got to take forever. But Shakespeare, or whoever wrote it, had a few tricks up their sleeve. They cheated. And here's what we mean by cheat. First thing you do is you flip the word order around, okay? This was easier for them to do than for us. Because if you think about it, these people were classically trained. They knew Latin. And in Latin, everything's based on where the word, the endings of the word. So you can move things around without it affecting the meaning. So you see that a lot in this play. Like here's one example. Thou hast sung at a window by moonlight. All right, you've sung at a window by moonlight. It doesn't really have the rhythm. So what you're going to do is just move a couple things. And usually what gets moved is things like a prepositional phrase. So thou hast by moonlight at her window sung. See, they've taken these prepositional phrases, by moonlight, at her window, and stuck it between the helping verb and the main verb. The next thing you do is you drop some syllables. You just make your own contractions. So here we have one. Quenched in the chaste beams of the watery moon, and the imperial votaress passed on. All right, so we got 11 syllables per line. That's not going to work. So now, quenched in the chaste beams of the watery moon, and the imperial votress passed on. We just knocked 2 syllables out just by inventing our own contractions. Pretty clever. Next thing you do, and we do this all the time when we're talking, is you leave out some words. Hey, how you doing? Right? How are you doing? Why, I am quite well. We don't talk like that. How are you doing? Fine. See, you drop words. So here's an example. This is from Puck talking with Oberon about the flower. Ay, there it is. I pray thee, give it to me. Now, here, these two lines together are going to add up to 10 syllables. So they have to do something to make it reach 10, otherwise it's got too many. So all they're going to do is knock out that word, to, and now it says, Ay, there it is. I pray thee, give it me. Now you've got the right syllable count. See? Nice and easy. So why write all this stuff in poetry? Well, you don't. See, in this play, poetry is used very specifically. Upper class people speak in poetry. They usually speak in blank verse, but they also will rhyme, especially when they're talking about love and romance, or it's a magical creature that's doing the talking. It's not absolute, though, okay? There are exceptions, so don't hang everything on, okay, it must be romance if this person's rhyming. But generally, that's how it works. The upper class people speak in rhyme. The others will speak in prose. Now, prose is just normal talking. It's what I'm doing right now. There's no meter or rhythm or rhyme. And generally in the play, you can tell when it's prose because the lines aren't capitalized. It looks like a regular paragraph. So who uses prose? The lower class people. It shows where they are in the great chain of being, that they're not sophisticated enough to, speak in this high language. And this is how real Elizabethans would have sounded on the street. Like, here's an example. Here is the scroll of every man's name which is thought fit through all Athens to play in our interlude before the Duke and the Duchess on his wedding day at night. See, it's not very different from us today. There's no rhythm or anything. It's just talking. So that's it. And as you read the play, use this information to help you understand what they are saying and why they are saying it. Oh, and one word to the wise. When you're reading the play, when it's poetry or prose, never pause at the end of every line. You'll drive yourself crazy. Even just try it with what's on the screen here. If I did this the way some people read Shakespeare, here's how it would be. So as you read the play, use this information to help you understand what they are saying and why they are saying it. See, that doesn't work. If it doesn't work here, don't do it to the play. Just read it out loud and read it naturally. Pause where the punctuation tells you to pause, and everything will be fine. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.